For a certain time, business strategy stopped at the point of writing a resolution. There was business consulting and enormous literature written on how to analyze data about certain patterns in business that might occur, how to develop strategies, how to choose the best strategies, and so on. And in the end, managers failed. And managers failed quite often during the 80s and 90s until Larry Bossidy, together with Ram Charan, came up with a book in 2002 called Execution, the Discipline of Getting Things Done. I mentioned it before. And as far as I know, it became the New York Times bestseller, #1, at its time. I mean, that's quite remarkable because strategy in its original meaning is actual leadership. What we are doing here is strategy, strategy in its purest form. We'll think about how to lead, and I will try to cover as much aspects as possible. And from a perspective of marketing, it probably would be better to call this class we are doing here a strategy class. There is no way I call this class officially a strategy class. The reason is you get people listening to you who want to do strategy. I mean, who wants to do that? I care for people who want to achieve something, and therefore they do need strategic thinking, leadership as a tool. I mean, it's certainly not enough to know what to do. You have to tell people. You have to enable them to act. And if you have any passion for what you are doing, you're not happy with developing a plan. You want to spread your ideas and see your ideas growing, see them alive. I mean, don't miss that. No leader would. In the 90s, the situation was even more bizarre because communication skills were very much en vogue. I mean, everybody talked about it. Topics like respect, listening is better than talking, appreciate the value of every opinion, the importance of soft skills, da 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 da. But soft skills and respect and listening and all that is important for sure, but it cannot be a substitute for skill and structure. In my personal belief, but that's me, it shows a lack of respect to talk to people without knowing what to say and without having structured it. I mean, you're stealing their time, you're stealing the time of people. And, well, I break my own rules here. I said there's leadership and the leader, and we should never mix it up, those two. So, let us hit the structure and think about how to put your resolution to reality. I know managers who completely ignore what we have done so far in this class, but are very good in what we discuss in this chapter. And they are doing pretty well. They don't analyze the situation. They don't care about stage 1 or stage 2 and stage 3 is a problem of tomorrow. And they are pretty respected because they communicate in a clear way. And they get more things done than those who know the steps until the resolution, but are ignoring a structured communication with their coworkers. And in the end, that is what this chapter is about, a structured communication. But let us start at the beginning. To do that, please remember, I said at the beginning, in order to lead, you need to learn to follow orders. Let's start at that point. What is it you would need to put your boss's will to execution? I mean, you're a grown-up adult. You are a professional that can think and act for himself. What do you need? In order to act, you must be A, willing to act, B, allowed to act, and C, capable to act. So, the first thing is you must be willing to act. You must be willing to contribute. I have to admit, I'm not a good coach for motivation for people who don't want to be motivated. If you are not motivated, just go somewhere else, really. I really believe if you belong to a group, if you belong to a company, it is somehow your duty to be willing to contribute. Recently I saw a video blog dealing with the problem that people are too shy to contribute in a meeting. I have to admit, of course, it is the job of a moderator to get all the opinions, to encourage people to participate, to create a constructive atmosphere, no doubt. But then again, I also believe if you have something to share, it is your job to share your point of view, your knowledge. And if not, in a business context, that leads to the question, why am I paying you if you don't share your knowledge? Maybe a little bit harsh, but of course, as a leader, you must be very careful not to destroy an existing motivation, which is unfortunately very easy to do, but that's a completely different subject. But a basic motivation is something that can be expected. And if you don't have it, with all due respect, you are fired. Next on the list, you must be allowed to act. Well, that's a little bit more complicated. I know two company founders, both are still in business, who love to talk about how they never had the desire to obey any rules. And they like to put great emphasis on the fact that they are free and rebellious minds. That does not mean in any way that they want their employees to be free and rebellious minds. That would be a mistake for sure. So the question is, do you, as somebody who wants to follow orders, do you know in which frame you are allowed to act? That is for sure something that matters for a successful execution. And that is something we have to deal with in this chapter. And the third item is, are you capable to act? Well, that can be seen in two different categories. Number one is easy. You are capable to act if you have the right toolbox, right education, the adequate skill set. And by the way, it's never wrong to ask yourself, am I qualified to do this? If not, it doesn't mean you cannot try. You will never develop if you just do things you know how to do. Just be mindful of that. But that's usually not a problem. So let us assume in general you are qualified to do the job, whatever the job is. And this brings us to the second aspect. You need to understand what to do. Well, in the last chapter, we were busy with analyzing the intention. Talking now execution, we do change sides. To be capable to act, you have to understand what has to be done. And as a leader, you have to make sure that your people do understand what needs to be done. And that is the core of execution. And that is the point where we start in the next video.